I'm not saying I will.
Yeah.
But they're going to give me $100,000 in cash and 5 winos to be named at a future date.
What if the smoothest operator in late-night history, the one and only Johnny Carson, had a secret list of guest nightmares? Tonight, we're diving deep into the untold stories behind some of the most notorious guests who, despite their star power, managed to ruffle the feathers of a man renowned for making nearly everyone feel at home. Yes, even the legendary Carson, famed for his impeccable charm and spontaneous banter, had his breaking points. Before we unravel these backstage secrets, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Every sub helps me buy more coffee and snacks, keeping my creative engine running as we explore the wild side of late-night television. Let's start with Bob Hope, a name synonymous with comedy royalty. You'd think that two titans of humor would share a laugh, but the reality was far different. Bob Hope's appearances on The Tonight Show felt more like rehearsed comedy routines than genuine conversations. Carson, the master of improvisation, thrived on unpredictability, but Hope's reliance on pre-written one-liners and cue cards turned every interview into a rigid performance. Imagine being forced to dance with a partner who never leaves their mark. Each exchange felt as scripted as a blockbuster ad, leaving Carson to wonder if he was interviewing a living, breathing promotional machine rather than a fellow comedian. And that was only the opening act of a long list of guest-induced headaches. Next up is Joan Rivers, a guest whose journey with Carson began as a promising, friendly mentorship. In the early days, Rivers dazzled with her razor-sharp wit and quick-fire banter, earning Carson's genuine admiration. She was a regular, a trusted guest host who seemed destined for greatness. But then, in a stunning twist of fate, Rivers made a career move that Carson wasn't prepared for. In 1986, she accepted an offer to host her very own late-night show on Fox without giving Carson a heads up. The betrayal cut deep. What had once been a symbol of camaraderie turned into an act of disloyalty. Carson's hurt was palpable, and in a move that shocked the industry, he banned Rivers from The Tonight Show for nearly 3 decades. A silent, powerful statement that even a beloved protege can become a source of personal pain. Not long after, the feud with Wayne Newton ignited into legend. Known for his dazzling Vegas persona, Newton was a frequent target of Carson's lighthearted jabs. However, when the jokes started focusing on Newton's flamboyant style and questioning his toughness, the atmosphere on set shifted dramatically. Newton, a man proud of his showmanship and success, didn't take these digs in stride. One fateful day, the tension boiled over as Newton stormed into Carson's office, his message clear: the ribbing had to stop, or else. For a man who prided himself on maintaining control and never backing down, the encounter left Carson visibly shaken. Although he eventually softened his barbs, the mark was indelible. A reminder that even the king of late night could be rattled when a guest refused to be the punchline. Then there was the gentle, beloved Mr. Rogers, a man whose soothing presence and earnest kindness made him a cultural icon in his own right. But when Mr. Rogers graced the stage of The Tonight Show, his calm and measured demeanor created an unexpected dilemma. Carson, ever the jester, loved a good tease, a quick quip, and a spirited exchange. With Rogers, however, the conversation often felt like wading through molasses. His sincere and soft-spoken nature left little room for Carson's usual playful ribbing. The result? An awkward, stilted interview that felt out of place on a show built for lively adult banter. It was a clash of worlds, a gentle soul on a stage designed for mischievous humor. Not all challenges came from the realm of gentle personalities, though. Enter Charlton Heston, the embodiment of old Hollywood gravitas. Heston's presence was commanding. His performances in epics like Ben-Hur and The Ten Commandments had cemented his status as a cinematic icon. Yet on The Tonight Show, his formal, sometimes rigid demeanor was a tough fit for Carson's freewheeling style. Heston's responses were long-winded and filled with the self-importance of an era when celebrities ruled with a commanding aura. His political convictions and conservative leanings only added to the friction, as Carson's humor was best served when it could dance lightly around any subject. Instead, every conversation with Heston felt like an unintentional lecture, a far cry from the vibrant, spontaneous rapport that Carson was known for. Next, we have Harry Belafonte, a man whose legacy spans from chart-topping hits like Day-O to passionate civil rights activism. Belafonte wasn't merely an entertainer. he was a force for change. But that very intensity often steered his interviews into territory that clashed with The Tonight Show's lighthearted format. Instead of sharing personal stories or playful quips, Belafonte would dive deep into discussions of racial justice and global humanitarian issues. While these topics are undeniably important, they were a poor match for a show where laughter and escape were the main courses. Carson, ever the consummate host, found himself struggling to inject humor into conversations that were laden with weighty, real-world concerns. A constant reminder that sometimes the right guest for the wrong show can throw the entire vibe off balance. Chevy Chase, the original SNL sensation, was another figure whose presence often left Carson less than thrilled. Chase's reputation for arrogance and his cutting, sarcastic humor created an undercurrent of tension every time he appeared. With a self-assured air that bordered on smug, Chase seemed to view every interview as a stage for his own brilliance, rather than a collaborative exchange. Carson, who prided himself on being both charming and in control, found this attitude hard to stomach. The energy in the room would shift, the natural banter would falter, and what should have been a playful exchange turned into a subtle battle of egos. Chase wasn't just a guest, he was a rival, a contender for late-night supremacy, and that made every interaction charged with an unspoken competition. Then came Frank Sinatra, a guest who, despite his legendary status, was notorious for testing Carson's patience. Sinatra's larger-than-life personality meant that he expected to dominate every moment he was on stage. There was even an infamous incident where, mid-monologue, Sinatra walked on stage and interrupted Carson's carefully crafted joke. The move wasn't just a breach of protocol, it was a full-throated power play. A reminder that Sinatra was used to being the unquestioned center of attention. While audiences marveled at his star power, Carson found himself battling to reclaim the smooth flow of his show amid the chaos of Sinatra's entourage and unpredictable antics. The tension between maintaining a well-oiled production and accommodating a diva of Sinatra's magnitude was palpable, and not always resolved with humor. Bette Midler, with her vibrant energy and magnetic presence, brought a different kind of challenge. On screen, Midler's performances were nothing short of electrifying. She could command the stage and move an audience to tears. And yet, that same intensity sometimes threatened to eclipse Carson's own role as the master of ceremonies. Despite a natural on-air chemistry that had viewers laughing and gasping in equal measure, off-camera tensions simmered beneath the surface. Midler's outspoken nature and her insistence on being the center of every conversation meant that Carson occasionally found himself relegated to a mere sidekick in his own show. One unforgettable episode saw Midler deliver an emotional medley from atop Carson's desk, a moment that, while heartwarming, underscored just how easily the spotlight could shift away from the host. George Carlin's appearances brought yet another twist to the Carson saga. Renowned for his razor-sharp wit and countercultural humor, Carlin's routines gradually evolved into edgy critiques of politics, religion, and societal norms. As his comedy took on a more provocative, boundary-pushing tone, it increasingly diverged from the polished, mainstream approach that Carson meticulously cultivated. The result was a palpable discomfort on Carson's part, a subtle distancing as he tried to reconcile Carlin's rebellious spirit with the expectations of a broad, late-night audience. While Carlin's humor was celebrated by many, it was clear that his provocative style sometimes disrupted the delicate balance that Carson worked so hard to maintain. Then there was Shelley Winters, a guest whose unpredictable, brash behavior could turn an otherwise routine interview into a roller coaster of tension. Winters, the Oscar-winning actress with a reputation for being forthright and unfiltered, often took over conversations in ways that left Carson visibly perturbed. Whether it was her habit of interrupting with bold opinions, or an infamous moment when she dramatically removed a shoe and thrust it at Carson, her antics consistently tested the host's patience. For Carson, who cherished a smooth, controlled dialogue, Winters' larger-than-life personality was less a source of entertainment and more a challenge to the very structure of his show. Tom Snyder, the enigmatic broadcaster known for his own late-night program, wasn't far behind in the list of challenges. When Snyder stepped onto The Tonight Show, his commanding presence and habit of dominating the conversation clashed directly with Carson's laid-back style. Snyder was a master of lengthy monologues and self-promotion, a stark contrast to Carson's quick-witted repartee. Their on-air interactions often devolved into a subtle tug-of-war for control, leaving viewers to wonder whether they were watching a genuine conversation or a contest of egos. For a host who thrived on collaboration and spontaneity, Snyder's self-centered approach was a constant source of friction. Zsa Zsa Gabor, the epitome of glamour and eccentricity, brought yet another flavor of chaos to the show. Known for her relentless charm, quick wit, and a penchant for dominating every conversation, Gabor's appearances were a masterclass in diva behavior. Her lavish tales of wealth, romance, and high society often left little room for Carson's trademark humor. More than once, her excessive flirting and larger-than-life storytelling derailed the natural flow of the interview, forcing Carson to navigate an ocean of self-indulgence with a wry smile. While audiences adored her sparkling persona, Carson's need for a balanced back-and-forth dialogue made her style an enduring challenge. Norman Mailer, with his confrontational intellect and fierce opinions, transformed interviews into battlegrounds of debate. Known for his unapologetic approach and willingness to push every envelope, Mailer's interactions with Carson often veered into argumentative territory. Instead of lighthearted banter, Mailer's appearances became intense sparring sessions where each comment risked igniting a full-blown debate. For Carson, a man who preferred his interviews to be fun and engaging rather than combative, Mailer's aggressive style was a recipe for discomfort. His presence was a stark reminder that not every brilliant mind is a perfect fit for the relaxed rhythm of late-night television. Tony Curtis rounded out our list of challenging guests with his larger-than-life Hollywood persona. Curtis, famous for his undeniable charm and energetic storytelling, had a tendency to monopolize the spotlight with lengthy tales of his illustrious career. His self-confidence, bordering on arrogance, meant that conversations often drifted away from the natural, humorous interplay that Carson was known for. Instead of sharing a balanced dialogue, Curtis's on-air exploits would dominate the conversation, leaving little room for Carson's incisive wit. The clash of Curtis's bombastic style with Carson's understated humor created moments that felt more like chaotic episodes than the smooth exchanges audiences had come to expect. And finally, we arrive at Don Rickles, the legendary insult comic whose rapid-fire zingers and boundary-pushing humor made him both a crowd favorite and a persistent thorn in Carson's side. Rickles' style was unapologetically aggressive. He delighted in turning every interaction into a series of jabs, including those aimed at the host himself. While Carson often played along with the banter, there were times when Rickles' relentless teasing and tendency to commandeer the stage went too far. Whether it was a broken prop or a joke that hit a little too close to home, Rickles' unpredictable energy could easily disrupt the finely tuned balance of the show. Despite the mutual respect that underpinned their relationship, Rickles' antics sometimes left Carson struggling to maintain his cool, a testament to the fact that even the best comedians can push a host's patience to its limit. As we wrap up this journey through Johnny Carson's guest nightmares, one thing becomes clear: even a maestro of conversation has his breaking points. Carson's legacy isn't just built on his effortless charm and quick wit. It's also defined by the art of managing personalities that ranged from the effortlessly spontaneous to the overtly overwhelming. Each of these guests, in their own unique way, challenged the smooth flow of The Tonight Show, forcing Carson to adapt, improvise, and sometimes even rein in his own humor. In a world where every conversation is a delicate dance of give and take, it's fascinating to see how even the great Johnny Carson had his off nights. If you found this deep dive into the off-camera challenges of late-night legends as riveting as I did, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with fellow TV history buffs, and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes stories. Remember, every subscription not only fuels my love for storytelling, but also helps me stock up on the coffee and snacks that keep these long nights of research and creativity going strong. Thanks for joining me on this wild ride through Carson's guest nightmares. Stay tuned for more tales from the golden era of television.